Hello, welcome. My name is Jai Cidelca. I'm an educator at History Miami Museum in downtown Miami. I'm an also an architect. So today I'm going to be talking to you about two very interesting sports in Miami that actually transcend the city. So welcome to our virtual program. So throughout the program, I want you guys to keep sending me questions if you have any questions, comments, and then we are going to answer them as fast as we can. So once again, welcome to the virtual program. If you have any comment or questions, please, add them to the chat, and then we're gonna get to them as fast as we can. So just to buy some time, since it's 3 o'clock, before I go more into the topic, last time we did This is Miami. We highlight living with water in terms of Miami, and that's something that kind of lead to this presentation today, where we discuss of how we should think of designing to build a better environment. So that being said, we're gonna talk about two very interesting sports. One of them has a lot to do with water, which kind of showcase how we can use water to our advantage and to actually have a community, a sense of joy to make our spaces more attractive and livable. So once again, we are going to go within one more minute more into the topic. So if you don't know what these sports are, this image here is a hint. So we have a boat, and also we see a man holding a racket or some type of basket. So we're gonna know exactly what that is along the presentation. So once again, you are more than welcome to make your guesses. If you're home with your family, we'll see which one is right. Okay. So we're gonna start the presentation like I said. So this Miami once again, which is a series of different topics that we're gonna be discussing at History Miami. And then today's topic is transcending sports. So now to go to the presentation. So this is actually the Marine Stadium, Miami Marine Stadium. It's a very iconic place in Miami today. And the view that you're actually looking at right now, it's a view looking back towards the Brickell area. And if you were to look in this area over here, this is more towards like the downtown area. And then over here, this shoreline, that's Brickell. You're looking back into Brickell. So if you had to continue further down this way, you'll actually get to the Coconut Grove area. So the street that's actually right here, parallel to the stadium, that's the street that leads to the Becker Causeway. So if you had to go, the other way, all the way down south, it will actually lead you to Key Biscayne. So once again, that's just to give you a little bit of context of where the Miami Marine Stadium is at, and the views that you actually experience once you are within the space. Okay. So let me take these out 1 second. So once again, if you have questions, you are more than welcome to send them our way. And throughout the presentation, we'll get to them as fast as we can. So now to move on, once again, now this is a map, a 2D view of the same image that I just showed you earlier. So once again, I'm going to highlight this area here. In this area, you have like the Brickell area. Once again, you have the Wicked Causeway that leads you to the Marine Stadium right here. So this is the actual location where you see that green dot over here. So the stadium itself is located on a very historic island, which is called Virginia Key. So Virginia Key is right here for those of you that are not familiar with the area. And then within the island is not just the Marine Stadium that you can actually visit if you're not from the area, even if you are, because it's something that I know most people are not really aware of. So in addition to the Marine Stadium, there are educational institutions on the island, as well as recreational activities that you can actually do either on your own if you wanna do self exploration or as a family. So there's quite a lot to do on the island if you actually an adventure person. So I definitely recommend it, even if you're in Miami. If you've never been, to the island Virginia Key, I definitely recommend it. There's a lot of rich history, a lot of things to do, and a lot to see. So next, we are going to move on to our next slide. So once again, the Miami Marine Stadium is very, very iconic in Miami's history. Once again, and I'm gonna highlight some of these factors why it's actually very important. So once again, it was actually designed by by a Cuban architect. His name is Hilario Candela. And at the time, he was actually a very, very young architect at the age of 27, and he actually proposed his, design for the Marine Stadium. So his proposal won. So it was actually built in 1963. At the time, it cost $2 million for the stadium to be built. And if you had to look at the stadium, like I said from the previous picture, you might think it's a very small space. True, compared to most stadium, it's not too big, but at the same time, it does hold a lot of seating, which is 6,566. So once again, there's not as much seating as it used to have, before. Once again, when it was first built, but it still has a lot of the remaining seating there. So another aspect of the stadium that make it very prominent in terms of structure is the actual buttresses. So if you had to look behind the structure, it's actually you have it kind of mimic the wave, which is actually the cover. It kind of mimic the wave of the ocean. So that was the idea behind the design of the stadium, to mimic the ocean wave, to kind of reflect once again the environment that the stadium is actually being in. So if you had to look at the bushes, like I said, when it comes to triangle is actually the strongest structure in terms of joints that you can actually connect to carry a load. When I say load, I'm meaning I'm referring to the weight, from high to low. So it was a very innovative way to actually carry the weight of the canopy, which is the cover. When you are sitting at the stadium, you have a cover on you. So those buttresses actually was very effective to transfer the load from the cover, all the way down, to the ground. So you're gonna see that they actually crisscross. So it's a way that once you have the load connecting like this in the image that you see over here. So once again, I'm referring to this image. You see how the triangular form really takes the load in two direction, bringing it to the ground. So it's very, very effective, very, very innovative to actually have that. So these are like the central column that bring it down. And also there's more supporting structures as well. So these are like the main support structures, and there's other ones that actually support it. So once again, it was really a magnificent piece of architecture when it was built at its time. Of course, due to advancement of material and knowledge over the years, there has been a lot of greater, I would say, stadiums that are built. But once again, when it comes to a Marine Stadium, at that time in 1963, it was actually the first of its kind. And then the fact that once again, when people come to an event, it really was a sight to see. So we are gonna go to our next slide. So just to give you a bit of understanding what that atmosphere was like, the feel for the environment. These are some of the programs that people actually enjoy at the stadium. So for example, you have power boat races. So you have hydraulic, small little boats, and then this was the main function of the space. So people come in, they sit in the stand as you can see here, and then they see the races. So one of the reasons that was very, very popular once again is because there is no other stadium like it of its kind in the US. So people will come from all over, the West Coast, the East Coast to actually, see the races. Okay. I believe we have one question so far. The Museum was the first of its kind. Are there other example similar structures you can name for us? Yes, there are similar ones, especially in Asia. I know for a fact they have similar stadiums, but I do not know any name in particular. So that's something that I can get back to you guys, later on. But as of right now, I cannot think of any name that I know of. But I do know some of other locations that I can pinpoint to you guys. So let me see if we have any other questions in the chat before I continue on with the rest of the presentation. So this is your chance. I'm taking a little break just to read the comment sections that people may have. So let's give it about 30 seconds. If I don't have any questions or comments for now, I'm going to continue. Okay, so I guess we're just gonna continue. So once again, the main focus is really to do the races. Once again, as you can see, this is actually a concert that that you actually viewing. So concerts were a big thing. They were a big thing to actually bring people in, family. Once again, it's about building a community. So the stadium actually served that very well. Not only have a nice backdrop, that you're actually looking at, and you really get to enjoy the setting of where that event is being taken place. Services, when it comes to religious services, also a thing that was very, very popular, at the side of the stadium. So once again, like I said, even though the main program was boat races, there's also boxing matches that used to happen on the stadium. So the same way you see here, there'll be a float, and then they'll put the two boxes in the ring, and then they'll fight. So it really was a spectacle to see in terms of Miami. So of course, movies. People have shot a lot of different movies at the stadium as well. So one of them, for example, Elvis Presley, which is a rock musician. If you guys are familiar with his movies, one of his movies actually there's a scene that was shot at the Marine Stadium as well. Okay. So before I move on, the current state of the stadium is actually shut down to the public. It's not a place that you can actually visit. It's because of let's say structural damage. What happened is that once again the stadium was built since 1963. So over the years, it really took a lot of damage. From once again, we have hurricanes down here, so hurricanes really have done a lot of damages on the stadium. But the one that really made the biggest impact on the stadium in most recent years, even though it's not really recent, but if we're to compare to other hurricanes, is the most recent one, which is Hurricane Andrew. And Hurricane Andrew happened in 1992. So when Andrew came, it really devastated the area, not just the stadium, just South Florida overall. And then the stadium, after it was actually let's say survey, they actually decided to make it unsafe for people for like mass gathering. So today, although people can do mass gathering at the stadium, if you do have rights, or let's say the proper permission, you can go to the stadium. You do a visit. But for now, it's not holding any special event. So if you're interested to attend an event at the Marine Stadium, unfortunately, it's not a possibility. But if you have a boat, if you have a friend that have a boat, you can always visit the stadium underwater, even though you don't really have access on land to actually go to the stadium. And what other ways people actually kind of highlight the stadium is the fact that a lot of people do go there for pictures as well. Okay, so to move on, so for those of you that are home doing quarantine, whether in Florida, somewhere in Alaska, so you can always actually build your own marine stadium. Now that you know a little bit of information of the stadium, of some of the structure elements, so there is gonna be a link on the chat, a Google Drive link. So for any of you that want to actually build your own marine stadium, you are more than welcome to do so. And then once you build your stadium, you can hashtag History Miami either on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you show off your own knowledge, your own interpretation of the marine stadium. So as you can see here, this is very simple. It's wood, glue, and then museum board. So there's different type of boards when it comes to the thickness that you may use. So the thicker the thickness of the board is, or the museum board, the cheap board, whichever one, or mat board, is going to be more expensive. So, and of course the wood as well. The thicker the wood is, the more expensive you're gonna pay for it. But once again, it will be a very nice challenge for the entire family. If you small, get your mom and dad involved to help you, with the cutting, because you do have to do a lot of cutting and sizing as well if you are to build, your own structure. Where can we find the dimension of the stadium? So if you actually very familiar with Google Earth, from Google Earth you can actually, you right click, you put measure from here to here, and it's going to give you the dimension of the stadium. So it's very accurate. So that's one way you can actually get the measure of the stadium without doing too many searches online. So just you right click with your mouse, and it's gonna say measure from here to here, and then that's gonna get the measurement for the stadium. Okay, so now the next game I'm going into is highlight. So highlight really is a Miami thing. It's one of the sports that really transcend Miami. So we talk about the stadium, of how once again the stadium had a lot of different programs that actually bring people together. So highlight is actually the same way in its own way. So this is the image of highlight players, that this is how they play. So what you see is actually a team of highlight players. So what happened is that you see that they are outside. the game used to be played outside, and then the game actually moved, inside. So if you never heard of this sport, I guarantee you it really is a Miami thing. So keep your ears and eyes open so you don't miss anything. So here, just follow me for a few seconds. I'm going to highlight some of the places that you can actually, see highlight. So this is a map of Miami, South Florida, very, very close to where we are. So once again, over here, I'm going to start printing. This is Miami, downtown Miami. And to over here, this is like the beach part. If for the north, you have North Miami in this area. You have Amelia Earhart Park over here to kind of give you a sense of awareness. So we also have the Miami Airport over here. We have Dorado over here. So the sport actually originated from a region in Spain, which is called Basque Spain. As you can, so I'm referring to this area over here. So it's the northern region in Spain. That's where the sport originated in the early 1800s. So from there, the sport moved from Spain to other countries that are actually under the Spanish, crown. In addition to a lot of Philippines, islands used to play the sport a lot. So how the sport got to Miami, it was a lot of people that are traveling. Once again, we do have Cuba right in our backyard. The sport is very popular in Cuba. So a lot of the Cubans where they're coming, they actually brought the sport with them to Miami. So the sport is actually first played at the Hialeah race course. So if once again, if you're not familiar to here, when I say Hialeah race course, it's this area right here. So in the middle, you see a little lake. So that's where the Hialeah race course is at. So that was the first site of the first Hialeah game in Miami. So very, very interesting place to visit in terms of history. So we're gonna move on. So this is just a small timeline of of the game of Hyla. So once again, I mentioned it's from back Spain, which is another region part of Spain. So in the 1800s, and from there, it moved to, let's say, Miami. So like I said, it started playing at the casino in Hialeah, and then it actually moved to Casino Miami in 1926. So this is actually a location where today you can still go and watch highlight games. So once again, if you were to look at the address right here on this poster, it says 36th Street at 37th Avenue, and that address is literally, like I just mentioned earlier, it's right here by the Miami Airport. So this is where that address is located for those of you that are familiar. And if you're not familiar, it's really like by Miami International Airport. So what happened is that at that time there was a lot of illegal gambling that was happening in the U.S. And then there are three major sports that got legalized in the U.S. for the sport to continue. So if you think of prohibition that happened in the 30s with banning of alcohol, and then that became a very big problem for the government to actually to manage. So they decided to make it legal so that there can be less casualty and crime. So when and by doing that, they also legalized, once again, not just alcohol, when you pay taxes for it, but they also legalized horse racing, because it was a way for people to bet on the game. So that's why they make them legal. It was horse racing, dog racing, as well as high. So they were like the main three sports. And then from 1934, the sport really expand to to the rest of the eastern part of the United States. And eventually, Miami, and once again in the 1980s, the sport was very, very big in Miami. Like you might think, why was it so big in Miami in the 80s? Well, once again, remember I mentioned earlier that the sport started from Spain, and the countries that are under the Spanish crown played the game a lot. So Cuba was actually under the Spanish crown. So a lot of the Cubans, there's a big movement that happened in Miami in the 80s. So a lot of the players that are in Cuba, they came to Miami, and they started their own team, or they continued playing the game. So that was one of the main reason why, not the only reason, but that was one of the main reason why that the game really peaked during the 1980s in Miami. So to move on, once again, how do you play the game? Well, the game is very, very simple. So the court itself, where you play, is called the fronton. So it's a very interesting court. You have four sides where three of the sides of the wall are used for the game itself, and one side is used for the spectators to see the game. And then you have a sling, like I mentioned. So if you have to look at this case here, this this curvature structure that you see here, object is actually the cesta. It's a sling. So from there you have the pelota. Pelota is a ball. Now there are two different balls in the case. Just to be clear, I am referring to this ball. The other one is baseball. And yes, the sport does require a helmet. And once again, this helmet that you see here is not the helmet for the game. This is just a typical football helmet. So once again, but these are the three, I would say, equipment that you need to really play the game. You need a space, which is the court. You need the cesta, which is a sling, the pelota, which is the ball, and as well as the helmet. So if you've never seen a high low court before, once again, keep your eyes open so you don't miss anything. So this is what the court looked like. Like I said, there's four sides to it. And once again, if I had to go back to the other slide, it says world's fastest sport. It really is one of the world's fastest sport. Is not the fastest because once you sling the ball, due to the velocity of the racket, the way it's shaped, it actually it pick up speed over time. So to a speed of maximum 180 miles per hour. Yes, I said it, 180 miles per hour. So if you're to get hit by the ball, there is a good chance that you're gonna get very injured or even fatal. So once again, these two sports really captivate Miami at a certain point of time, and they really transcend Miami because once again, when they come to the stadium, I'll go back to it. When people come to the stadium for an event, not only you enjoy the event itself, but the venue itself was a destination. And today, let's say we have Instagram, TikTok. If people back then had those same social media platform, they will come to the stadium just to take a pic, just just for like a trend or for the latest spot. So the stadium really did put Miami on the map because a lot of people that come to Miami to actually see events, not only did they enjoy themselves, a lot of people did eventually move to Miami, right? I mean, we have good weather 24/7, and in for Highland as well. It transcends Miami in a sense that they brought revenue to the city because if people can come, they actually enjoy the game, and you can actually make extra money to the side, by the betting. Hopefully, if you win, but once again, the places themselves, serve the function of community building, and you can also actually get income out of that. So like I said, today there's not much games of Hala that is being played because once again the sport is not really well known today, and part of the reason is because let's say money. The players don't really make that much money, playing the game. So that was one of the demise of the sport. But once again, it's a sport that is still going on. So where there are Jai-Alai and Dania Beach. So I'm actually further down in South Florida. Once again, I do not know where they are in Dania Beach, but I know there are several within the East Coast of the Florida in the U.S. So once again, if you had to just stop, Hyla in Florida, you'll find fewer of them. But I usually you might see them in casinos. Casinos are like the go-to spot if you want to know where you can actually watch a Hyla game. Once again, I think it's a fascinating game. I've never seen it in myself, so even myself, it's my bucket list to see. I mean, it's just interesting. So yeah, you can go to casinos, you can call them because of COVID. They may not be open right now, obviously, but once again, you guys are more than welcome to check the sport out and also the Marine Stadium. So if you were aware of the Marine Stadium, once again, you can share a comment. And if you didn't know, you can actually do the small little project that we mentioned earlier. As you can see in this image, it does really mimic what the wave of the question looked like. One more question. Okay, so no more questions. No more questions. So once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. And this is the second series of This is Miami. We are gonna be doing more. So keep following us, and then you're also gonna get the latest news from us. So once again, there's no more questions at this time coming. So we thank you all, and we look forward to see when the museum reopen soon. Thank you.